Rupert, how are you? There's no traffic though. Waiting on the star of the show here.
Good afternoon. My name is Heidi Riccio, and I am the Superintendent Director of Essex North Shore Agricultural and Technical School. We are excited to welcome Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, Secretary of Education Peyser, Secretary of Housing and Economic Development Kennealy, Secretary of Workforce Development Acosta, and other elected officials and guests. We would also like to thank members of our school committee for joining us as we celebrate Career and Technical Education and the Career Technical Institute. Yesterday, we welcomed 100% of our students back on campus. We all have rediscovered that there is nothing better than in-person instruction. You may have seen our students working. You see, that is what we Vokies do. We work and learn at the same time. We connect this learning through strong academic coursework coupled with authentic experiences like building a 7,500 square foot net zero agricultural museum across the street, or working in a lab at Harvard University. Whatever the path, career and technical education is where you can find interest-based learning that works. Essex North Shore opened in 2014 with 1,100 students. Today, nearly 1,600 students enter each day. An additional 46 after-dark students from 4 communities take advantage of high-quality vocational education in the afternoons. And 685 adult learners in the past 3 years come to gain valuable skills in highly sought-after occupations. Our focus is to truly live our mission of technical and academic excellence. Our 1 million square foot facility is situated on 130 acres of land and offers authentic learning opportunities in 25 Chapter 74 programs. Nearly 75% of our offerings require some form of post-secondary options, whereas the remaining 25% require additional apprentice hours beyond the skills-based training received. We also embrace community partnerships, with several of these partners allowing community members to work and learn on our campus. For example, Angel at Essex is located in one of our animal science buildings on campus and offers veterinary services to low-income pet owners funded through a capital skills grant. The Essex County Sheriff's Department runs their training facility on our South Campus. Company to Heroes, a veteran support organization, shares our companion animal facilities to train service animals for returning servicemen and women. The Coordinated Family Program Engagement hosts on our campus a support program for parents of at-risk school-age children. And North Shore Community College operates a post-secondary training program in cosmetology and culinary arts. We continue to strengthen these community partnerships, seek to build new relationships, and offer our resources to the North Shore. Since 2016, Essex North Shore has been awarded nearly $3.4 million in competitive grant funding to support the 3 branches of vocational education: from the Skills Cabinet. I would like to thank Mary Ellen Rancourt and Bonnie Carr, who have worked collaboratively with staff members to complete the grant writing process. It truly has been a team effort. There is no better way to express our gratitude than from the words of a recipient of this retraining program, Carlos Valerio, and I quote, "When I entered this program, it was a few months in which I had a lot of nerves because of the pandemic and the technical language completely new to me. And I didn't know if I could complete the program remotely. But the truth is that I learned a lot and grew up as a person and as a professional. And I also want to say that I thought of giving up sometimes. Virtual learning wasn't easy, and the isolation to COVID made things much more difficult. But thanks to the efforts of the teachers, the school to get the facilitators and the teaching tools that were necessary. With their patience and dedication, we were able to successfully complete the course, pass the exams, and finally get the certifications that made me a candidate to be and go work for GE Aviation, a company to which I belong to today with pride. And after all, I am convinced of two things. It is never too late to learn, and it only takes one opportunity to change a life. There are no words that can express what I feel for everyone who made this possible. My respects and eternal gratitude to all of you forever. I believe that the best way to honor you is being the best professional I could be, representing with pride and responsibility the school and the program that open the doors to a world full of opportunities. And that makes me most proud, is the appreciation that everyone in the market has about this program. God bless all of you, and thank you very much," end quote. This funding could not have happened without the Capital Skills Cabinet, as well as Governor Baker and his team, as well as Mass Hire, who worked diligently with us to market such programs. With that, we thank Governor Baker and his cabinet for this essential funding to change the trajectory of a person's life. I would like to now introduce Governor Baker for his remarks.
Thanks very much, Heidi. And the Lieutenant Governor, I know, and I know I speak for Secretaries Peyser, Acosta, and Kennealy when I say how much we appreciate the chance to be here today, and especially to be out of the office. And to see kids actually in person, in class, doing stuff. There's nothing quite like that. And I also want to thank Essex Tech for giving us this chance today to walk around a bit and to get a sense on some of the really amazing work that's being done here. Today is about spotlighting the importance of our Career Technical Initiative and to announce the latest grant awards that support programs like this one. We launched the Career Technical Initiative in January of 2020, which was shortly after my State of the State address and shortly before everything changed, for lack of a better way to put it. It's one of the programs the Lieutenant Governor and I were most looking forward to getting on the road to promote, to grow, and to invest in. We think the Career Tech Initiative will be a key tool to power our economic recovery because it connects people with high-demand jobs and gives them the skills they need to serve employers and to be big parts of their communities going forward. The goal of this program is to train an additional 20,000 people in skilled trades over the course of the next few years to meet the changing needs of our economy and to help close the skills gap. I think like most of the rest of the country, we recognize that Massachusetts will face workforce challenges in the next few years, especially as people retire and as the pandemic changes some of the tectonic plates of the economy underneath it based on many of the changes that have taken place in the way people act, the way they work, and what they do. The skilled trades are definitely growing, And we'll need more skilled workers in the coming years who have these skills to service our economy, to service our companies, to service our communities. And these are huge opportunities for people to get jobs on which they can build a life and make a living with. Our vocational schools play a key role in connecting students to these career pathways. And Lou, I was glad to have a chance to see all those kids downstairs, not only building scaffolding, but already wearing the laborers' gear. And I said to one of the folks that was running the tour, so is that, there's one right there, right? I said, are you guys, I said, were these guys already members of Local 22? And the answer was no, but they will be. And that will be a great thing for you and a great thing for us here in Massachusetts. We also want to make sure we're providing training opportunities to adults so that we can open more doors to good-paying jobs for them as well. And the program launches and leverages the power of the infrastructure of our vocational and technical schools to make this possible. Now, part of the reason we can do this is over the past 6 years, we've invested around $80 million in capital improvements at our vocational and technical schools through our Workforce Skills Cabinet, which Heidi spoke to. And that's where the Career Technical Institute program comes in. This grant program is aimed to transform these vocational schools into career technical institutes, running 3 shifts a day to expand enrollment of high school students and adults. The grants include funding to deliver adult training, credentialing, and placement services in partnership with the Mass Hire Career Centers and the workforce boards. Thanks for pointing out that that's already how you folks are getting it done here. And Essex Tech has clearly been a great model for this approach. The schools receive funding to support full adult training programs and also continues to receive funding from our Skills Capital Grant Program as well, about $1.25 million last year. We just got the chance, as I said before, to tour a few of the different places here in the school and talk with some of the teachers and some of the students that are involved with these programs. And there's just no doubt that these are meeting a crucial need for our economy and that these students can find pathways towards successful careers in high-demand fields and occupations. And that's a big part of why we're so excited about this. Today we're here to announce the awarding of another $2.1 million as part of our CTI program to 10 vocational schools across Massachusetts. And these grants will provide funding so that these schools can deliver adult training, credentialing, and placement services in partnership with the Mass Hire Career Centers and the workforce boards. In a moment, the Lieutenant Governor will share more information about the recipients. These funds were awarded as part of a $4 million line item. It was in the 2021 fiscal year budget, and the next round of grants is now open. Our fiscal year 22 budget also proposes a total of an investment of nearly $17 million, which is obviously more than 4, so that we can do even more with this program to support our students, our workers, and our employers, and to power economic recovery. I think in many respects, this is one of the most important things we're going to need to do as we all get back to so-called normal, and that is find ways to make sure that people have the skills that they need to succeed in a 21st century economy. And we look forward to working with our legislative partners, who, by the way, appropriated all the money that made it possible for us to do all those other things, and work with you and with others to make these investments in our people and in our country and in our Commonwealth and in our communities. Thanks very much. And with that, I will turn it over to Lieutenant Governor.
Good morning. Still morning. A few more minutes. It's great to be here at North Shore Essex. Heidi, you did a beautiful job with your remarks. It just inspires the governor and me and our entire team to keep doing what we're doing for our technical schools and our schools throughout our Commonwealth. I want to credit you and your leadership and all of your faculty, your families and students for working so hard to bring kids back fully at this time of year, but starting your year at 50%, and how hard you work to make it a safe experience for all of your students. Thank you so very much. The words that you used from one of the students who benefited from these investments about work and learning together, that's exactly right, and it's a lifelong experience. But that's what brought the opportunity to his life. And That's what you focus on every single day, about making sure your students here have access to opportunity. When we were touring this massive building and peeking in at certain programs and waving to students as we would go by, I made note of the signs in every department, and every single department connects to the key industries of our innovation economy and of the whole economy in Massachusetts. So you are the definition of workforce development here on the North Shore, and thank you. Before the pandemic hit, as the governor said, we were talking a lot and doing a lot in this space, and the main reason is because we know that the talent is needed for the growth in our economy, but also because we were hearing from industry leaders and employers everywhere, we just need more people with skills to fill the jobs that we have. And so when you're graduating students here, you're graduating students with abilities to work together, problem solve, in addition to the expertise in a particular subject that earns them a license, a credential, a certificate. Some go on to community college for a 2-year degree, some go on to 4-year degrees, and some go on to be PhDs. We need them all. We need every part of that talent development to make sure that Massachusetts continues to succeed. And while we do that, we also have particular gaps that exist, workforce skills gaps, we have opportunity gaps, and we have achievement gaps to address. And the concern that we have is during this pandemic that those gaps are more pronounced than they were before. So it brings to us a sense of urgency and a sense of mission to accelerate the pace of developing this talent, utilizing the resources and abilities that you have at schools like this, not only for the students that enter as freshmen, but for people of your community that might be transitioning into a new career and being able to access your classrooms at night or maybe even on the weekends to obtain the certificates and the degrees so that they can access more opportunity in our economy. So thank you. I also have the opportunity of chairing the Massachusetts STEM Council. Next Thursday, we have a STEM Summit where we are doing even further engagement with employers and making connections to educators and students throughout the Commonwealth. Its theme is Inspire a STEM Start. Having employers think about how you can incorporate internships and mentorships and making connections to your schools in your community. And you certainly do an abundance of that here. I also want to acknowledge, it was not lost on me, that there are young women pursuing these careers, and we certainly have a lot more opportunity to engage more young women and people of color in the trades and all the opportunities that you have here. You've got a big fan in the Lieutenant Governor in your mission to do just that. We have a lot of recipients, and we'd like to see more in the future, and I just want to take a moment to congratulate you for being one of them. We have 10 schools that are receiving career technical grants today. So the Greater Lawrence Technical School, Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical School, Montechusett Regional VocTech, Neshoba Valley VocTech, the Southeastern Regional School District, Greater Fall River Vocational, Essex North right here, Whittier Regional, not too far, Greater Lowell, and Madison Park. Congratulations to each and every one of you. I also want to acknowledge one of the first things that the governor and our team did when coming into office was to obviously name our secretaries, but also encourage our secretaries to work across secretariats to get good stuff done. The Workforce Skills Cabinet is an example of just that. The Secretary of Education, the Secretary of Workforce Development, and the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development working together. So thank you all, and I'd now like to turn it over to Secretary Peyser.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Heidi, and your whole team for welcoming us this morning at Essex North Shore. I also, before I get started, want to give a shout out to two people who have made this program really possible, especially during these unusual times. Liz Bennett with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and Bob LePage from the Executive Office of Education. The Governor said at the outset, yes, absolutely, that, last March everything changed, but thankfully, thanks to Liz and Bob and Heidi and everybody here and everybody around the state and our vocational technical community, the work went on and progress has been made, and CTI has actually been launched despite all of the challenges and burdens. And a critical part of CTI, or essentially its sort of core model, is running a vocational school in 3 shifts. Regular school day for students who are enrolled in the vocational school, after school programs for students who are in local high schools but are not enrolled directly in the Voc Tech school itself, as well as evening programs. And I want to talk a little bit about that second shift, which is a critical part of expanding opportunities for high school students to gain access to a career technical education, or CTE, during that second shift in the afternoon after the regular school day is finished, or in some cases, including here, during the afternoon session of the Voc Tech program itself. And the basic model is for students in surrounding high schools who are not enrolled in a regular Voc Tech day program to take their general education courses at their local high school in the morning, and then travel to the local or regional Voc Tech school in order to take technical coursework and participate in shops and labs with the CTE faculty. These students are full-fledged CTE students, even though they are on this split schedule. By providing new access to a vocational education, this after-hours initiative ensures greater utilization of our Voc Tech assets and leverages the skills and talents of our CTE faculty. At the same time, it opens doors to students who may not have thought that CTE was where they wanted to go in middle school, which is normally when these choices and decisions are made, or who may just be on a waiting list waiting to get into a Voc Tech program that's oversubscribed. This week, Commissioner Riley approved 6 new second shift programs, including partnerships between 4 North Shore high schools and Essex North Shore, one of those communities being Swampscott. That was an applause line, Governor Swampscott. There we go. And now, as a result of that,
Nothing to do with that.
still an applause line. There are now 31 after-hours programs available at 6 Voc Tech schools in partnership with 17 local high schools. Over the next 3 to 4 years, we expect the second shift of CTI will increase high school Voc Tech enrollment by about 25%, more than doubling the growth of CTE enrollment that we've seen over the last 5 to 6 years. It will also help address equity gaps and accelerate the ongoing diversification of career technical enrollment. The second shift is part of a multi-pronged effort to expand access to career education and applied learning, especially in STEM fields. In particular, it builds on our investment of close to $90 million, which will soon be over $100 million, in capital equipment for high-demand technical programs at vocational high schools, community colleges, community-based training organizations, and others. And it complements the development of early career programs like Innovation Pathways, which offer non-vocational students a coherent course of study throughout high school tied to a key industry sector, complemented by consistent opportunities for career exploration and work-based learning experiences, as well as access to post-secondary coursework. Taken together, these several initiatives represent the most significant expansion of career technical education in over a generation. This is a great accomplishment, and again, I want to thank the Governor and Lieutenant Governor and my colleagues on the Workforce Skills Cabinet for making this possible. And with that, I'd like to introduce my Workforce Skills Cabinet colleague, Secretary of Labor and Workforce Development, Rosalin Acosta.
Good morning, everyone. So good to be here and actually see you. Always great to be back on the North Shore. I am a North Shore girl at heart after spending so many decades here, so great to be back here in Essex North. So I'm really pleased to be here. Thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, my fellow secretaries, Heidi, Bonnie, for inviting us to tour this beautiful school and to see all of the great things that you're doing here. Our world seems to have shifted into like this BC and AC, right? Before COVID and after COVID. And before COVID, Massachusetts economy was enjoying an unemployment rate of 2.8%. AC, we saw unemployment rates reach 16.7% in Massachusetts, the highest that we've ever seen in our history. We lost over 700,000 jobs in just a few months. Fortunately, we've gained back around 400,000 of those jobs, but clearly we still have some work to do. When I look at our claimant pool right now, between the federal programs and our traditional unemployment programs, we're still paying almost 500,000 people unemployment insurance. And some of those programs on the federal side that we never paid before, for example, to independent workers, last until the beginning of September, unless extended. So I'm here to tell you that I'm extremely excited about a program like this Career Technical Initiative. The governor said in his fiscal year 22 budget, there's $17 million that's allocated for this program. $15.5 million of that is directly for what we call the After Dark program. So after that second shift that Secretary Peyser talked about, this is the night program. This is where adults get to come in and enjoy the incredible equipment that is in these wonderful schools. And working closely with our mass hire system, we know exactly who's unemployed. We know exactly the pool that we have to draw on. And you know what? LG said beautifully, this is all about access and opportunity. That's exactly what this is. Because unfortunately, coming out of this pandemic, it looks a little differently. And we know that women have been disproportionately affected by unemployment. We know that women make up now 54% of our unemployment claimant pool. And while unemployment is 2.8%, is at 6.8% on average, we also know that for our Latino community, it's 17.5%, and for blacks, it's 14.5%. So yes, it looks different. So it is our job now to make sure that we are doing everything we possibly can with these dollars to make sure that we're pulling in all of the communities that probably have not had the access to these programs previous to now. So we really do need to step up our work there. And these are good jobs. These are good jobs in high demand sectors that are going to be high demand sectors for decades. So this isn't a one and done thing. We've got a lot of work to do, and I'm really looking forward to working with schools like Essex, continue to work with my Workforce Skills Cabinet members to make sure that we are focusing and being very intentional about how these programs are executed. So thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our third Workforce Skills Cabinet colleague, Secretary Kennealy.
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you all today. Really wonderful to be here. You know, before the pandemic, we all used to travel a lot more. And I always love my visits to vocational technical high schools. You walk the halls here, and you see amazing things. You see students eager to learn new skills. You see dedicated and experienced faculty working with them. You see cutting-edge technology and equipment. These are wonderful places, and you can just feel the potential when you walk these halls. And we've been doing this work now for quite some time, really going back to the earliest days of the Baker-Polito administration, investing capital in our vocational technical high schools so they can expand their offerings and close skills gaps around the state. That was really important work in a 3% unemployment economy. It is so much more urgent now after the pandemic. And if we get this career technical initiative right, if we do it at the scale we want to do it at, great things are going to happen. So many of our high school students and adult learners will develop new skills and find exciting new pathways, new careers. And our industries, our companies, will have more talent. And, you know, we're just not going to have the kind of economy we all want to have unless everybody has an opportunity and unless we have the talent we need to compete. We all know in Massachusetts we're all about talent. And so this is really, really important work and wonderful to be with everybody today. And it's really how we get things done here in Massachusetts, that partnership between government and business and education. So congratulations to the award winners today. Look forward to working with all of you. And I think with that, I turn it back to Governor Baker.
Questions?
Governor, would you say a college education is maybe less important than when you and I were getting out of high school? I mean, do you feel like today it's not as vital to have a good life, bring up a family?
Look, I think I guess I would say that what level of education you go to or how long you stay in the space is 100% a function of sort of what your interests are and who you are. And I do think one of the things that we've discovered as a result of the work that the Workforce Skills Cabinet's done with many of our voc tech and community colleges is you upgrade the equipment, you digitize the stuff that used to be analog, and all of a sudden, teachers get really interested in it, kids get really interested in it, and it starts to become the stuff that people find out in the field, and the opportunity there becomes real. And I think the biggest thing I would say for us here in Massachusetts is we have a lot of people who thought they had a good job in a space where there was employment opportunity and possibility for advancement. And the pandemic certainly took a lot of that away early on, and there's an open question about how much of that will come back and when. And when you start thinking about that, the possibility that's associated with putting really serious money, which is what we would like to do with our colleagues in the legislature, into these kinds of after-school and evening programs so that people can get the skills that they need to launch themselves into many of these high-demand, well-paying professions is huge. But I think for everybody, the big challenge and the big choice going forward is going to be about what makes the most sense for you. And I do worry that if we don't create this pivot and create this capacity and give people places and opportunities to gain these skills so that they can participate fully, and the piece and the industry that they were in doesn't come back the way it was before, we have the potential to leave, as everybody has said here, a lot of people behind, and I don't want to see that happen. I'm actually more worried about that than I am about, people will make their own choice about what the right place for them to play is. The thing we need to do is make sure that there are opportunities for people wherever you want to play. And I absolutely believe that there are a lot of opportunities. I mean, the last place we went before all this happened with COVID was Greater Lawrence, voc tech. Do you remember there were employers there who were literally hovering over that place, just waiting for the folks in the after-school program, the evening program, and the day program to graduate. And they were dying to hire the kids and young adults that were coming out of that program. And I remember thinking at the time, this is big. And it is a huge opportunity, and we better not miss it. And I would just argue that it's a bigger opportunity, and it's more important in some respects now than it was then, because of some of the disruption and dislocation that's been created by the pandemic.
Well, I'll continue on. How do you feel after your shot?
Yesterday was a long day. We are the first state in the country in which 2/3 of all of our adults have actually gotten a first dose. So we are clearly rocking and rolling on that one, but that also means at this point, there are almost somewhere in the vicinity of 4 million people, 3.5 million who've gotten a first shot, at least a first shot. So it's hard to say there's kind of like a standard way people respond to this. What I can say is that I think the way I dealt with it yesterday was pretty consistent with what I've heard from a lot of people, which is it was my second shot, 24 hours after I got it. I ached all over. I had chills. I didn't have a temperature. And it was all in all a pretty crummy day. And by the end of the day, I felt better. And now, 2 weeks from now, I will be part of the fully vaccinated part of the Commonwealth. And I urge everybody in Massachusetts to go get vaccinated. And the reason I say that is there is overwhelming evidence at this point, based on many of the populations that have been vaccinated so far, which includes a lot of very vulnerable populations, that vaccines work. And if you want to keep yourself, your family, your neighbors, everybody else healthy and get us back to what I would describe as normal, that is the best, fastest, and best thing you can do for yourself, do for your family, do for your community. Go get vaccinated.
You and I shared the exact same, I had the exact same thing, no fever, but you felt like you had it.
Yeah.
Are you concerned at all that Mayor de Blasio's announced New York's going to be completely open for business July 1, and yet we're looking probably at August 1? Are we going to lose out on some tourism business?
So what we've tried to do all the way through this is to make sure that as we reopen in a way that doesn't create negativity on the other end. And if you look at what we did back in May of last year, what we did in August of last year, what we did back at the beginning of March, every time we've moved on a reopening, it has not had a negative impact on what was going on generally in the Commonwealth. The momentum in whatever direction it was continued. And what we've said about August 1 for sort of a full reopening date is it depends a lot on what happens in the month of May, okay? If people continue to get vaccinated in Massachusetts, if people continue to do the right things, if people continue to do the work that we all know will reduce case counts, reduce hospitalizations, and make this Commonwealth a safer, better place, we'll take a look at where we are and make a decision as we go about whether we can move that date up. But our sense was when we looked at sort of the, how many people were getting vaccinated, who was left, and all the rest, we felt we were sure we would be in a good place by August 1st. But if the people of Massachusetts continue to be as aggressive and as enthusiastic about getting vaccinated as they've been, we may have the ability to do that sooner.
So you can't really look at the competition, you have to look at the data.
I really think, every state is in a slightly different place, and I think it's really important for everybody to pay attention to the information in their own state, and that means vaccination rates, case counts, hospitalizations, so-called at-risk communities, all that sort of thing. And one of the things we've also said from the beginning on this is we're going to create what I would call kind of a statewide framework, and then if locals want to move within that framework, they can. And so the city of Boston, for example, Mayor Janey said she was going to run about 3 weeks behind our proposals. We've had moments and circumstances like that all the way through this, and I don't have a problem with that. Locals, in many cases, know better than anybody else about what the particular play in their community might be. But if people want to get more normal faster, go get vaccinated. That is the fastest way to get us from here to there.
Thanks, everybody.
And thanks again to Essex for hosting us. Really appreciate it. See you later.